What is up, everybody? Welcome back to RacingDudes.com. Welcome back to another one of our previews. Well, it's one of my favorite weekends of all the entire racing season, believe it or not. It is the Pegasus Stakes weekend at Gulfstream Park, Saturday, January 25th. For this video, let's take a look at the Pegasus World Cup Turf, an event that has been added over the last few years and has really added to Pegasus World Cup Day. When it first started, it was just the Pegasus World Cup. That's it. And now they added the turf, and now they've got the affiliate mare turf as well. So for this video, let's take a look at the Pegasus World Cup Turf. I'll put the field up there now. It takes up almost the whole screen. A field of 12 plus 2 also eligibles are signed on to run this year in the Pegasus World Cup Turf. It'll be race 12 on the card. They're going a mile and an eighth here with a purse of $1 million. All right, let's go through them one by one, and let's pick a winner. And I'm going to tell you, that is not an easy thing to do in this one. This is a very tough race. We'll start with the number 1, Siege of Boston. This is one that I did throw out, and to me, it's just a kind of the fact that this horse just rarely wins. If you want to play him to hit the board at a decent number, I don't blame you, but this horse just doesn't win very often. Just 3 wins in 21 races. The last win was an allowance at Laurel Park. He also won an allowance right here at Gulfstream Park as well, and then a maiden special weight at Aqueduct. So no stakes wins, 2 allowance wins, and a maiden. He's just not for me. We'll just go on to the next one. The number 2 is Formidable Man. Formidable Man coming off of 3 straight victories, including a grade 2 win, 2 races back at Del Mar in the Del Mar Derby, and then the Hollywood Derby last time out on November 30th, also at Del Mar. The horse now is turn 4, so we'll be facing older horses here after winning those races against restricted company just to the 3-year-olds. So first time facing olders as well for this horse, but coming off 3 nice wins, it's just kind of a matter for me of, can he make the next step? There's absolutely nothing wrong with the 3 races in a row he's won. He's going to have to run faster to win against these horses. That's where I'm at with him. But can he do it? Yes. Will he do it right here? I'm not quite sure. I did not play the number 2 Formidable Man. The number 3 is Me, Hermano Ramon, coming in from California as well. Mark Glatt trains this horse. It'll be Luis Saez that gets aboard for the second straight time today. This horse returned off of a long layoff, 455-day layoff, returned 4 races back at Del Mar, didn't do much running, ran like he had been on a 445-day layoff. The next start, he kind of woke up. They entered him in a small stakes at Santa Anita. He was finished second, only beaten the neck. Then he came back to win the Seabiscuit at Del Mar in his 3rd start off that layoff before last time out finishing second, only beaten 3/4 of a length to Johannes, and that is a very, very nice horse. And I thought this horse ran very well behind Johannes. I think he's in with an upset chance. Spoiler alert, I did not pick this horse to win. But I like that Saez gets back aboard. I like that the way this horse is rounding in the form. I don't love the running style for Gulfstream Park. I could see him kind of getting stopped. I could see him kind of getting a tough trip because he does come from out of it. I couldn't get there as far as a win, but man, I kind of wanted to. I really think the 3's in with a big shot in this one. I expect him to run well. If he gets the pace set up, we'll see. He's going to come running. I have no doubt. The number 4 is Win for the Money. This is a horse that was 3rd, only beaten a half length in the local prep for this last time out in the Fort Lauderdale. Ran 10th in the Breeders' Cup Mile on the turf. That was a really tough race. Just didn't kind of get going at all. Did win the Woodbine Mile 3 races back as well. I was kind of against the horse last time out, did beat him, but I thought he ran a little better in the Fort Lauderdale than what I thought he would. I don't know. I kind of just looked at him and said, yeah, the Woodbine Mile was great, but I don't know that I'm really sold on him overall. I still kind of feel that way, but I do feel like the Fort Lauderdale at this distance, like I said, local prep for this one over this course, it kind of made me think, well, he's in here with a little bit more of a shot than I thought he would be. But again, I'm not going to play him in this spot either. I'm going to pass on the number 4 Win for the Money, but I don't blame him if you want to take a shot with him. The odds are right. The odds are certainly right for him. He's 12-1. The number 5 is Integration. Fun fact, Integration was the 6-5 favorite in this race last year before getting beat by Warm Heart. Of course, Warm Heart, a horse we were all high on here at RacingDudes.com. And thankfully, Integration did take a lot of money, and Warm Heart was able to get the job done. Integration lost back-to-back races after that Pegasus World Cup Turf loss. Finally did win a small stakes race at Colonial. Could not parlay that into the Arlington Million. He lost there as well. Lost at Kentucky Downs after that. Did come back and win the Red Smith last time out at Aqueduct, going 1 mile and 3/8 there. Pratt was aboard that day. He's not aboard here. He is. It'll be DeTore that gets them out here. So, look, I cannot support him at what I think will be a short price. I do believe this horse has talent. I would not be absolutely shocked if he won. He gets overbet something fierce every time he runs, including this race last year. He's 3-1 on the morning line this year. That is the second choice. I would need like 6-8-1 to bet this horse in the spot. I can't do it. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to pass on the number 5 Integration. The number 6 Major Dude is a horse that I cashed in on last time out in the Fort Lauderdale with a kind of a hard-fought neck victory. You look at this race for him, I think it's the step he needs to take. I think it makes a lot of sense to put him in here. He did win the local prep for this one. The last time he tried Grade 1 Company in the 4-star Dave, he was beaten badly, 5th, beaten 10 lengths. So that's kind of the downside of that. But, his other races since coming back from the long layoff have been pretty darn good. He lost by a neck. Then he won an allowance race at Saratoga, 5-star Dave. Then he won an allowance race at Keeneland, and then the Fort Lauderdale. You kind of look back at some of the other big spots they've tried with him. He did win the Penn Mile when he was a 3-year-old. That's a Grade 2 event. But, when you look for graded 6 races, he's won some here or there. He's always kind of failed when he went up against the top level. That's the scare here. I think kind of the flip side of it is he's older now. He's maturing. He seems to be better than he's ever been right now. So, if you like him, I think that's kind of the reasons why you're going to like him in this spot. Let's go to the number 7 Nation's Pride here as we keep on rolling. There was really little to no doubt who the class of this field is, and it is the number 7 Nation's Pride. This horse, last time seen in America, was winning the Arlington Million in pretty impressive fashion by a length and 3/4, beating Integration. The 3 races back in the United States, this horse was second in the Manhattan, beaten by measured time in a race where these two just ran fantastic races. Measured time, nobody was going to beat him that day, but Nation's Pride was right behind him. Really, when you look at, and I'm just looking at United States form here, he didn't run well in the Man of War this year on May 11th. He was 3rd, beaten 4 3/4, so that wasn't good. But you go back to, in 2023, he ran in the Canadian International, totally outclassed the group, right? You go back to when this horse was a 3-year-old. He was second in the Belmont Derby. He won the Saratoga Derby. He won the Jockey Club Derby. He was a 5-2 favorite in the Breeders' Cup Turf. He did not run that well that day. He was 5th, beaten 3 3/4. But, got beat by Rebels Romance, who came back to win again. Stone Age, Warlike Goddess. Yeah, all horses I'd probably want in this spot. So, yeah, when I just look at his resume here in the United States, it's hard to poke a lot of holes in it. The day he lost the Belmont Derby, they let Classic Causeway get out in front, and he took him gate to wire, and you just kind of sit there like, how did you lose that race, right? So, some of these races, he just didn't run very well in, overseas. But when you look at the races here in the United States, every time he seems to bring a pretty darn good one. So he's the class of the field. Appleby gets Buick to come over. I always think that's a really good sign. When William Buick has come over to ride this horse, let's take a look at that real quick. Buick won the Arlington Million on this horse, lost the Manhattan. Buick was on measured time. Frankie DeTore was on Nation's Pride, kind of was the tip-off. DeTore was on him in the Man of War when he lost. Buick was on for the Canadian International. Buick was on the Breeders' Cup. That was a loss. Buick was on Saratoga Derby when he won. So you do kind of see when William Buick comes over, it does kind of give you a heightened confidence. So the number 7, Nation's Pride, he's going to be pretty darn tough in this spot if he shows up with his best. The number 8 is Spirit of St. Louis, Chad Brown runner here. It's the only Chad Brown runner in the field this year, and that's kind of disappointing because, when you think of this race, you think international horses or you think Chad Brown. Well, Spirit of St. Louis, kind of the New York bred monster is how I would describe him. He was just a wagon in some of these New York bred races, just winning at an alarming rate. They tried to get Open Company in the turf mile, the grade 1 turf mile there at Keeneland 2 races back. He was fifth, beaten 2.5 by Carl Spackler, more than looks. Pretty sharp horses, right? So yeah, not a great effort, but not bad either. His numbers have been pretty darn good. He did rebound and beat City Man last time out, which is a horse that he beats a lot of these New York bred races. So I think he's in with a little bit of a shot here, but I think he is more of just that New York bred runner. I don't really expect him to jump up in Open Company and get the job done. The number 9 is Balnikov. This is a horse that's usually hanging out around Santa Anita and Del Mar. He does go on the road every once in a while. He went on the road to Pimlico last year and got the job done in the Dinner Party Stakes right there at Pimlico and was able to win. Kind of more of a board hitter, even in Southern California. I don't give him much of a shot in this one. Maybe he hits the board at a big price. I could see that happening, but that's kind of the end of it for me. I didn't have a lot of interest in him. The number 10 is Battle of Normandy. I'm glad to see that this horse is kind of rounding into the type of form I thought he would be. I was there live when he broke his maiden at Saratoga way back on debut when he was a 2-year-old. He just kind of went south. He just went on a long losing streak, like 8 straight races. But the last 4 races have been wins. He won an allowance at Belmont at the Big A. He won an allowance at Saratoga, another allowance at Belmont at the Big A, and then a grade 3 race at Churchill last time out in the River City. So he's progressing. He's finally kind of living up that hype. He got some really big time forward speed figures in his last 2 races, huge numbers. So, can he do that against this kind of company? That's the big question mark for me. I love, though, that Jose Ortiz gets a board here for Shug. I think that's a pretty good sign that this horse is doing pretty well. In the last year, Jose Ortiz has only rode for Shug 12 times. 4 of those horses have won. So, I mean, it's a very, very small sample size, but I think there's crazier 20 to 1 shots to play here today. To be quite honest with you, I think he is in with a big time shot. The number 11 is a Grand Sonata. I prefer Major Dude over Grand Sonata in the spot. If you want to go to a Pletcher runner, this kind of just feels like the quote unquote other Pletcher. I passed on him. I just, it's not a strong resume. I kind of think he's starting to fade a little bit. I think his best days might be behind him. I took a pass on the 11 Grand Sonata. The 12, Chasing the Crown, another horse that I ended up passing on, even though I am scared of Mike Maker when he runs long on the turf with horses. Last time out, he did win going a mile on the turf at Churchill Downs in an allowance field. It was a pretty darn good race that day. So we'll see what happens with him in this one. His other races, when facing like Stakes Company, things like that, haven't been awful, but kind of haven't been, able to get wins. Been close in some races, but kind of missing that big win on his resume. I don't think it's going to come in this one either. The 2 also eligibles, we'll go through those real quick. The 13 is Fort Washington. This is a horse that was second last time out to Major Dude, only beaten a neck at 11 to 1. He kind of can jump up and run a big race every now and then. He's not ultra consistent, though, just 4 wins in 23 starts. I won't have much interest in him. And then the number 14 is Pyros. This is a horse that has a 5 race winning streak coming into this one, but has been in claiming races 2 of those 5 races, and then allowance. Did win a stakes last time out at Turfway Park. So kind of a big jump up in class if he gets into the field. All right. That's a field of 14. Holy cow. This is a great race. I went, to be honest, this video could have been out like an hour ago. And I just kept flip-flopping on what I wanted to do. At one time I had Battle of Normandy, the 10 horse on top. I had the 3 Mi Hermano Ramon on top for a while. I had Major Dude on top for a while. I ended up, going with the number 7 Nation's Pride. And, I just kept going back and thought, you know what? These horses that I just mentioned, they can win the race, but Nation's Pride if he just shows up with a good race, he should win the race. And that's what I just kept doing. So what I'm going to do, my strategy, I'm going to, number 7, Nation's Pride is who I have to win the race. I'm going to play him on top of some of those longer prices that I just mentioned, the 3, the 6, and the 10. So I will go, 7 over 3, 6, 10. And then I might back wheel that as well and go 3, 6, 10 over the 7, just in case my opinion on one of those long shots, it turns out to be right. And Nation's Pride still runs well and gets second. So that's kind of how I'm going to approach it. I didn't love going with the favorite in this field of 12 because I do feel like there's some margin for error there where you can kind of get this favorite beat. But at the end of the day, I do still feel like he is the most likely winner of the race. I think I'm just going to try to get cute underneath and try to get a price to come in under. Like I said, I'll back wheel that as well. And try, if that price that I like that I just mentioned, the prices that I like does come in and win, hopefully Nation's Pride's there in second and we kind of get it that way. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it, kind of how I'm going to play it. Like I said, I'm not exaggerating. I sat here for an hour going back and forth on what to do. I just kept going back to the 7 Nations Pride. So that's what I'm going to pick to win the Pegasus World Cup Turf. All right, that'll do it for a preview of the Pegasus World Cup Turf live Saturday, January 29th from Gulfstream Park. Hit that like button if you like the video. Hit subscribe. You really like it. Want to get alerted anytime we do videos like this. And most importantly, good luck if you're betting Gulfstream Park on Saturday.